Yo, 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 what's good, y'all? This is OMA, one who may ascend. Today, we are discussing the behind the lyrics to Thanos Skywalker. At the time of this recording, it is currently Wednesday, May 7th. I know I just missed the cutoff for May the 4th, for May the 4th be with you. But by the time this comes out, it'll already be late anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to be discussing why the song came into existence, how the song came to existence. We're also going to do a bar by bar, line by line analysis, talk about the double entendres, the hooks, the song influences, the prospective recording of the song, because at this time, the song has still yet to be recorded. Hopefully we're expecting to record some behind the scene footage to actually give y'all a detail on site when that actually does occur. And we'll also be discussing the prospective creatives and the AMVs of the song, which also have yet to be created because the song itself hasn't been recorded yet. We'll also be discussing prospective plans for promotion as well. And maybe we'll even give you an update on the things that did and did not come to fruition. All that at a later date, all that and more the next time, no, right now. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Why the song Thanos Skywalker came into existence? Well, it all stems from what I consider I have this existential anger about life and just I'm just not satisfied with, not just what life provides for each of us, but just how we're living in general. Like, this shit is not cool for me. Respectfully, not to get on a side tangent, but I don't know how people can condone this, this type of standard of living and continue perpetuating, this ignorance and having kids in the situation that we find ourselves in. So I'm long story short, I'm dissatisfied, with what life has to offer, what our societal systems that are currently in place has to offer. I just think, us as humans, we've been around long enough to figure this shit out. We're relatively intelligent. We have advanced civilizations and technology and everything like that, and I just believe that all the intelligence and creativity that we have is just being allocated, to I don't know another word for it, honestly, non-essential bullshit, really, at the end of the day. I'm upset, big mad. I think we could be doing better, honestly. Very disappointed. And it's really that anger that fuels me and the desire for almost everything that I do. And anger can be a fuel for change in some instances, if used productively. Fuel like social justice and all kinds of shit, right? So you combine that and my love for the movie The Matrix, Plato's allegory of the cave. We're all confined in this matrix, this existential prison that we may or may not be aware of, depending on who you are. And that's in various capacities, whether that's physically, mentally, socially is a big one, financially, spiritually. But I think the one that encompasses all of these different forms is existentially. I believe that we are in an existential matrix, that this whole life, that this whole world that we currently inhabit is a simulation. I am personally of that belief. Whether you agree or not, that is totally up to you. I'm not going to challenge or argue with you. That's the perception of the reality in which that I currently think that we're in, which is also reflected of the egg theory. It's the idea that we're all pieces of the same divine entity, and we have what I'll refer to here as a universal consciousness that connects us all. and we're only separated by our unique perspectives and experiences, but in reality we're all the same divine being. So it's my intent, my divine sense of purpose is to unite that, to bridge the gap between all of our experiences, and to release us from this matrix, this prison, if you will, so that we may experience an unparalleled freedom. And so when you start thinking, you start entertaining those themes, and you just let it like simmer and brew, and you're stewing in these types of ideas. I started to ask myself, I was like, well, who do we know in pop culture, that also reflects these types of ideas? And it just so happens I'm a big fan of not just, Marvel comics in general, but obviously Marvel comics, as well as Star Wars. I've been becoming more and more of a fan of Star Wars, respectfully. I'm definitely easily a bigger fan of the comic books. I was a big nerd in high school and junior high and everything like that. But I've started to get more and more accustomed with the Star Wars fandom. And the recent guilty pleasure of mine has been kind of just binging on YouTube Shorts content, where they explain, all of these different characters and their plights, and all the backstories and everything. And I don't really have time to like watch the movies, so you'll be able to tell, from the content that is and is not in the song, what I am and am not familiar with. There's still like a lot of Marvel movies and just comic book movies in general that I have yet to see, and a lot of Star Wars movies that I haven't seen yet. But that should all be evident, within the content of the song. So I asked myself, who has a divine sense of purpose, and is willing to sacrifice, for their goals, for the sake of the balance of the universe, and the balance of and bring balance to the force. I started asking myself these questions, and I was like, just my brand name, my stage name, One Who May Ascend. I love dabbling in themes of like outer space, and thus Thanos Skywalker was born out of this existential anger that I possessed, as well as this sense of duty. So I'm gonna come back to how I actually wrote the song. It's been so long now. I think it was like September, I believe. One second, let me check. Okay, the earliest note that I have sent to myself, I sent a lot of notes to myself via email, is November 30th. I believe I had the idea a lot sooner before that, but I don't think I had started, putting everything together by then. But could that definitely could have been the earliest, November 30th or so of 2024, that is. But before getting to actually how the song was written, I actually want to start with the production of the song. Hate me or love me, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep it a buck, because y'all might accuse me for other things, so I'm just gonna come clean where it actually matters. But I just have to be honest with you all. The beat itself was produced by AI. Not even gonna hold you, not gonna lie. Now, however, with that said, we did rearrange the stems. I took the stems and I made them longer. I doubled the beat. I screen recorded the instrumental, the beat, as it was developing. And I had been doing this for some time. You can go ahead and check. We are dabbling with production on a different YouTube channel that's called OMA Productions. You can go to that channel and see we have hella AI produced instrumentals and beats. This was all in early 2024, maybe like February or so, 2024. And what we do is, we would take the stems or just like a little snippet or whatever and screen record it or download it, and then, just upload them to the YouTube channel. And it just so happened, one of the beats that we did this with, became perfect. It was perfect for this song. However, with that said, this particular instrumental was produced, I don't know, it was like differently. Like I went to the site and all of these instrumentals were generated by the same site. I'm not going to tell y'all what site it is. If y'all know me personally, like I might divulge that information, you know, but yeah, I don't think Batman can get this information out of me, this site that I use, you know, because I don't want them to sue me. Maybe they'll find out or whatever. You know, I'm all for breaking people off and everything like that, but and I don't want y'all like ripping the software and shit, you know. I don't really care about that, you know. It's open source, open for anybody. But like I said, this particular beat was done differently. Like they were, it was like some type of experiment or free trial thing. Because once I enabled this, you know, these features or whatever to like test, I don't think I ever saw that again. And I was like, yo, honestly, like this particular beat was like the hardest thing that I've ever heard generated from not just like that particular website or program that I was using with AI, but like anything that I've ever heard. You know, it actually sounded like organic, you know, like a human made it. It didn't sound like some, you know, run-of-the-mill AI generated bullshit. You know, it sounded like real, like authentic, like. And again, you could go onto the OMA Productions page and see which beat that it was. It was it really reminded me of DMX and the beats that he would rap over. You know, it was like very thematic, authentic, gritty, grimy, and it had 808s in there. So it was like almost like anything that you could ask for. And I love the pacing of it too, and how it developed. You know, so like I said, I screen recorded this beat off of the computer because it wouldn't let me download it. I guess it was like a new piece of the software, a new addition to the software or whatever. All the other ones, other beats, I just downloaded. I just ripped them, you know. But this one, I did rearrange the stems, like I said. But like the beat, it was like it developed even as I was screen recording it, you know. So I don't know how AI does that. I don't know if it could do it again. I don't even know if it could replicate something like that again. But like I said, this is the most throwed shit, you know, I've ever heard it produce. So when I was picking beats for the song, this beat was definitely in contention. I think I narrowed it down from like all of the AI produced beats that we had, which is maybe like 60. I think I narrowed it down to like 30 of them. And I think from there like 15 and then 7, so like halving, you know, and then I think it was 3, and I was like, I just kept coming to this one. But let me go back to how the song was actually written. And you know, before we get into that, I just want to be upfront. You know, I don't want to be accused of any bullshit like that. While the beat, yes, was produced by AI, I wrote all of my own lyrics, you know, so don't even come to me with some bullshit like, oh, I didn't write this, you know, none of that. No, like I wrote all of this. There was no external, I mean, obviously the bars, the lines were influenced, you know, by the actual movies and the Star Wars and the Marvel lore and everything like that. But nobody wrote my shit for me. Like this is totally all or original, organic, no hand with AI. I'm not even gonna lie. I actually considered using AI to help me write it, but I had like so much content in it. There was like no place, like where am I gonna add another bar? And I'll even share, if I remember at the end of this, behind the lyrics, some of the lines, again, that I created originally. I'll even share some of y'all the bars that didn't make the song, and even ask y'all's opinion on what lyrics maybe I should have moved or and then there were lines that I wanted to incorporate, but I just couldn't figure out how to incorporate them. So even if I forget to cover that in the behind the lyrics, you know, maybe if y'all drop a comment, and I'll share some of those with you, or we can make another video with that as well. But like I said, this is all totally original, organic, no external help or influence other than, like I said, the lore from the movies, some of the comics, and that kind of thing. So like I said, when I had this idea, and I told you all the reason why I had this idea of Thanos Skywalker, it was just kind of like an idea. And it's rare that I do that on occasion, but it's rare that I sit down and I'm like, hey, like, let me write a song about this, but it was just so organic. It just came so naturally. It was just intuition. It was very inspired. The song basically wrote itself, and I've been sitting on it for the better part, at least half a year at this point, and it's been eating me alive that I have to sit on something this dope and I just can't share it with anybody, not even my team, the closest people that I shared it to with. Even still, so far, this far in May, I shared it with my brother and my dad when they came to visit me in LA this past December. But since then, it's like I still haven't shared it with literally anybody, not even my team. I'm concerned with people, jacking my IP, because like I said, I did not use I wrote all of this shit myself. But here, if you're listening to this, then here it is. It's finally here. So at the time that I wrote this, and even to date, right now, as of May 7th, 2025, I drive for Uber Black, Uber Luxury, regular fucking Uber X, out here in LA and Orange County and everything. Currently residing in Anaheim, but work a lot in LA, Diego, Vegas. But I believe when I actually had the inception of the idea of Thanos Skywalker, for one, I don't think it was called Thanos Skywalker. I think I was dabbling with other names, titles as well. I think I came up with like Mad Titan Anakin or something like that, and it was none of this was hitting the mark. I don't want to give y'all I don't really actually remember the original titles. I just remember this one stuck out, because obviously, at least I don't think that Thanos has a last name. Obviously, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker does. But it was just that I just kept repeating that Thanos Skywalker on Thanos, and that was going to be the hook. That was going to be the whole hook, and the first line of the hook was basically the song. All these bitches on me, I'd make a fine father, and it was just kind of it was just gonna be that, and then Thanos Skywalker, bitch, I'm Thanos Skywalker, and that was gonna be it, for the hook. That was the first bar that came up. And when we do the line by line, bar by bar analysis, we'll talk about some of the other ones, the pacing, some of the lines that came at the forefront at the very beginning and some at the end. But I definitely remember, because how can you write a hook if you don't even know the title of the song, or vice versa? So while I'm coming up with the hook, I have all of these one-liners that creativity. I'm just flooded by creativity while I'm driving, while I'm working with Uber. And it was probably the better part, at least an hour. I don't think it was 2 hours while I'm still working, because I was still getting pretty decent trips while working, and I couldn't write any of this down. So I basically had to implement, if y'all are familiar with the Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, Biggie method, where, back in the day, either by choice or out of necessity, they didn't have paper and pen, today we have phones, and we could write things, and it's easily accessible, to write. Well, I'm driving, and I have to keep a professional, environment. I'm not gonna and protect my IP. I'm not gonna say all of these ideas, in front of my passengers, even though these are brilliant ideas. I'm not gonna do all that, So I just kind of rehearsing this to myself, while I have my passengers for a good hour and a half, until I'm finally able to pull over and write hella lines, hella bars, And even still at this point, like it's the song, quote unquote song, it still hadn't even taken the form of an actual song yet at this point. It's just a whole bunch of like dope lines and one-liners. And again, when we do the bar by bar, line by line analysis, I'll tell you some of the first ones that came to mind. But it was just like a whole bunch of ideas. Didn't even, have the format for the song or the rest of the hook yet or anything. That all came days later, at least days, maybe weeks later. Like I said, I think I started writing this in like September. It could have been as early as August, but it wasn't weeks. Could have been weeks later when I actually put everything together. And I do remember when I was putting everything together. Maybe it was that date that I mentioned earlier, November 30th. But when I did that, again, I was still working Uber Black. I was at the LAX airport in the parking lot when I was putting all these things together and going back to choosing the instrumental, the beat for the song. I had to decide, which beat that I was going to use before I even put any of these lines together, because when you're writing the song, all of the pacing, the rhythm, the formatting, the chorus, the hook, everything has to be on point. Everything has to line up. You don't want anything to sound like it's off pace or off beat or anything like that. You might have to add some words, take some words out, so I was really trying to find something that a beat that matched all of these criteria for me. It had to be like kind of eerie. It had to be, like I love that Star Wars music, the dun 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 dun, like that Imperial March, I think that's what it's called. So it had to fit that aura, that type of intensity, the pacing. I want everybody to hear my bars. I was definitely looking at a lot of other beats that sounded like spacey, but they were just really too fast paced for me, for the delivery of the song. And so I ended up with this song, and I know it's like hella long. It's like nearly, if not a 6-minute song, by the time that you hear it. It's barred up. You know what I'm saying? Yo, what's good, y'all? I am OMA, one who may ascend, conscious trap metal recording artist. Here in our YouTube channel, you can expect exclusive content, whether it's vlogs, music, freestyles, behind the scenes. You never know what you're going to expect, so make sure you hit your post notifications, like, comment, subscribe, share it with somebody else who might find it valuable as well. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come. We're going all the way up, eyes to the sky.